What's up, everybody? This is the Devflix podcast, and today I want to talk about the 5 reasons that I still collect physical media, and whether that be movies, music, video games, books, comic books, and everything that falls in between that. I think over the last several weeks, a lot of people have woken up as to why physical media is important, especially with Sony announcing that they're going to cease releasing video games on a physical disc following 2028. And I think that, when I think back to when I would collect movies and over the past 20 years of me building my collection, um, you know, I remember my friends and people that I knew kind of scoffing at the idea that I still bought CDs, that I still bought DVDs. And this was like in 2010. Um, During that time, I wasn't collecting a huge amount of CDs because at that time they were still about $10 to $15 per CD. Of course, you could get them used, but during that time, I was particularly just buying artists that I really liked, right? I was really into hip hop. And as I started branching out, following those years and listening to different music, I would go and buy those CDs. And I would find really great deals on eBay. I would seldom find stuff at Goodwill because, it was just newer stuff, not newer stuff, but stuff that was a little bit more hip. During that time, it was like, well, you could pirate these videos on demand, or you could pirate these movies, you could pirate music. On demand was a really big thing at the time, right? If you have cable, well, if I just want to watch Kill Bill, right, I can put it on demand and just watch Kill Bill. I don't actually need the DVD. I don't actually need a Blu-ray to do that. That was the argument of, a lot of my friends, a lot of the people that I knew. That never really stopped me. I always wanted to buy things, buy the movies that I liked, buy the music that I liked, the comic books that I liked, or graphic novels, because it just was really cool to own those things. So here are my 5 reasons as to why I still collect physical media, and maybe I can entice you into doing the same or to building up your collection. And the first reason is availability and ownership. You know, when it came to on demand, that word on demand was like, well, I can watch this movie on demand, right? And I never really had on demand. At that time, my family was kind of like moving away from those services. We had DirecTV, but we never really like bought into the idea, well, I'm just going to get this movie on demand. And, but that in itself, on demand, lures you into believing that you can get that movie or that TV show whenever you wanted it, right? I come from the generation of where DVRs were a thing and you could, just record your favorite show. So like having it on demand wasn't really a thing. You still had to like program your DVR to have those things. So over time, when I started like, having my own money, I'm like, well, of course I want to watch The Simpsons whenever I want to. So I'm going to go and buy The Simpsons, right? I'm going to buy my favorite seasons of that, which, of course, who wouldn't want seasons 1 through 10 of The Simpsons? Or I have never seen The Wire before. I want to watch it in my room at my convenience and watch The Wire. So that in itself, having that available whenever you want it, was always a really big thing to me. And over time, as I moved from 2 or 3 different houses, right? From my house that I grew up in to the house that my parents bought in 2006 and to my own house, which I'm in right now. You do tend to not have like a Blu-ray player or a DVD player or a CD player. That did happen at that time. Of course, I don't want to go and plug in my CD player. I don't want to go and plug in my Blu-ray player. I just want to watch my movies right now, right? So of course you kind of get sucked into the Netflix trap. You just set up your TV, you don't want to set everything else up, so you do end up having Netflix, and it was really convenient at a specific time. However, over time, as those services, which we all know to lose went on to lose content, I ended up renting movies that I already owned. I do remember I wanted to watch the first Hellboy, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, why am I going to spend $4 or $10 or whatever it is to rent this movie that I already have? At that time, my movies were in totes in my garage or maybe even in storage. But I'm like, I really just need to get off my ass and go and get the movies that I already own and put them in. And, over the course of a few years, I'm like, you know what? I just need to get a dedicated Blu ray player and commit to the fact that I'm going to watch these things. Now, up to this point, I kind of have a media server, which is a completely different topic that I really don't want to touch into today. But the convenience of having your own media will never go away. I strongly believe that. I refuse to pay, streaming services a certain amount. They are really convenient, especially when you do have kids, because you really do have to retrain yourself and your family to go back to physical media, even though it is just a superior uh, medium altogether. And when we're talking about superiority, it is just a superior quality. I mean, of it was always kind of a footnote to me that services said, "Hey, you can get this movie in 4K. Um, you can stream this at the highest possible quality." But what I think a lot of people don't understand is that internet plays a big factor into this. And I know that over, the pandemic and over the past 10 years, as we've become more reliant on internet technology, routers are being overworked in the household, right? You have your mom using her phone to shop. Your dad is probably streaming stuff on YouTube or even Netflix for himself. You got your brother in the other room playing video games and playing Fortnite. You only have so much bandwidth in the home. And, when I remember going to watch Avengers Endgame at my house, right? We had just gotten a new TV. Avengers Endgame had just hit Disney Plus, and I was really excited, right? At that time, I wasn't buying physical media because I really had no dedicated player, as I was talking about. So I turned on Avengers Endgame, and the picture was absolute trash. The same thing with one of the final episodes of Game of Thrones. Famously, quality was trash. And I'm watching these things, and I'm like, I'm paying for these services, but these services are absolute garbage. And it takes a while to kind of like figure, you know what, I just got to go back to buying the DVD for this, buying the Blu-ray, buying the 4K. And in my honest opinion, I think that if somebody is going to collect physical media, you don't even have to start at 4K. There are things that look absolutely stunning. I've seen some Blu-rays that have completely changed my focus on what I actually need to buy on 4K. Sometimes I just buy 4K for the art. And of course, sometimes you're just getting that better quality on 4K, but Blu-ray is absolutely, a really great medium. If you have a great player, if you plug it in and you have a sound system, you're going to have a great time watching a Blu-ray. And when it comes down to, actually buying these things, that brings me to my third reason, and that's cost effectiveness. You know, Having your own physical media is ultimately cost effective. And as I talked about in my first reason, it is not so much that, okay, you don't have to go out and buy every single movie that's ever been made on Blu-ray, and then 4K is now available. So now you have to upgrade. You really don't. There's a lot of Marvel movies I happen to enjoy, a lot of MCU movies that I'm not going to go out and buy the 4K if I don't absolutely need to. Even uh, now, while we see the whole Bloody Affair coming out on 4K, I'm only buying that because that is a version of Kill Bill that, as a fan of that movie, I really want to see. That's Tarantino's vision of that movie. I wouldn't upgrade any for any other reason. 4K was released for Kill Bill uh, a year or two ago, and while I don't actively watch my DVDs as my main viewing experience, I would watch this for maybe a novelty experience on this Sony Trinitron back here. But I have the Tarantino collection. Let's bring that out here and look. I have the Tarantino collection. This is like one of my favorite Blu-ray sets. Like I would never feel like I have to upgrade this if I don't. It looks fantastic. I watched Jackie Brown from this set 2 years ago, and it looked amazing. So cost effective wise, like, yeah, to go out and buy new things in terms of movies, music, and video games, sometimes that which you already have is already the best way to view it and the most cost effective way to view it. There's also the aspect of, if you wanted to add to your collection, you can spend, a few days, a week, over the course of time, going on eBay, shopping around, going on Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, and buying movies that you want to. There are people that are selling them for as low as like 50 cents a movie. Like, go out and get the movies that you want to. Like, don't give all your money to Amazon because, it's just available. Like, do the work. You know, Going out and buying those things, going out and spending a little bit of time like hunting for those things is ultimately like a really fun experience. And that brings me to my fourth point, which is the thrill of the hunt. I mean, when I started, when I restarted collecting physical media a few years ago, I was blown away by how available, movies, music, and video games were on just this variety of marketplaces. As I've already said, of course, we have eBay. eBay is like my main squeeze, especially because I don't always have time to go to thrift stores. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on eBay, just picking the stuff that I really want, especially because you can, just hit up a certain seller on there and try to make a deal with them. And a lot of times they're really open to doing that. But because I don't always have that time, like I would really love to go out to thrift stores and like shop all the time, because you do find really great things. And one thing that I've noticed when I'm hunting for movies, or even music, is like you kind of have to, you have to manifest. That's what I'm trying to look for. You have to manifest what you're trying to find. I remember a few years ago, I was thinking about, well, I don't really have like No Country for Old Men on Blu-ray. I would really like that on Blu-ray. Um, I didn't like rush out and buy it. I kid you not, a few weeks later, I found a Blu-ray of No Country for Old Men stashed behind the books at my local Goodwill. Um, I remember wanting more 4Ks. I found The Revenant, after a few trips to Goodwill, I found The Revenant on 4K at Goodwill. So, manifesting what you want to find is kind of like a thing. Like, it's not, it's not a science, but if you manifest what you're looking for, you're going to find really cool stuff over time. And again, just a variety of marketplaces you have to hunt for. Like, don't just go in with, $1,000 and just buy everything you want. Like, that's not like the fun of it. Sometimes you end up spending a little bit more money just because for the immediacy of it, but really give yourself that gift of like spending the time and hunting for it. You're going to have a lot of fun. And that brings me to my last part of having the variety in your collection that you're just not going to have by, streaming it. When it comes to movies, especially, having variety in your collection is really key. One of the things that's absolutely concerning to me is the fact that there's just a lack of children's programming on any one streaming service. You really have to have like 3 or 4 different streaming services, because who just wants their kids watching Disney all day? Like, you want to introduce them to new things. And that was something that was really important to me when I had my son. And as he started watching TV around the ages of 2 and really paying attention to things, you know, over time, he realized that he likes Scooby Doo. He realized that he likes Blue's Clues. And those things were not just like available all at once. What was really great is those were things that I would find when I would go thrifting anyways. I would find Blue's Clues DVDs. I would find Scooby Doo DVDs, and I would buy them for him because I wanted him to enjoy those things and I wanted us to have them available for him. And when it comes to adults, we really have to have that variety in our lives as well. You can absolutely go to the thrift store and find just a myriad of different movies and different TV shows and different albums that you may have never experienced before. You know, maybe your best friend told you about this movie a long time ago. I want to watch that. Maybe, your sister or brother told you about a TV show that was really cool and you find the first season of it, or the first season of a TV show you used to watch with your family when you were kids. like those are things that you can add to your collection. It's really not just about adding things that are always your favorite, but finding new favorites as well. And the variety really boils down to even artwork of, the things that you have. And I think that's why when people started recollecting vinyl, people wanted to have that art available. And that's such a simple concept that I think a lot of people kind of get lost in thinking about it. And one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts about Netflix is they give you this idea of variety. You can go on there looking for a certain movie, and they may have it in 5 different categories. And because they have it in 5 different categories, they're just, using stills from those movies or TV shows. Maybe it's somebody with a surprise face, maybe it's one of the characters as a still, but it tells you absolutely nothing about it. There are people in the industry that have worked really hard on trying to entice you to see that film or TV show or listen to an album. And we kind of think about that like last now. I don't really recall a movie poster like really drawing me in from something new. It's always, because of an idea that I want to go and like watch a new movie or see a TV show. But those things used to be able to sell, those posters, that artwork used to be able to sell you on an idea. And it's just kind of become lost. I mean, you really have to appreciate what those people have done. Recently, one artist, a very prominent artist, passed away. And I'll put his name right here because it escapes me. And I'm just kind of like thinking of these things. But when that artist would draw the movie posters for Harry Potter, for Indiana Jones, for Star Wars, and these were hand-drawn posters. They were meant to entice you to go see that movie. You would want to put these posters on your wall because they were just that beautiful. And it's just something that's kind of getting lost to time, and we have to appreciate that variety. We have to appreciate that artwork for what it is, because I think ultimately at some point we might lose it. But those are my 5 reasons as to why I still collect physical media. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've made it this far, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Consider liking and subscribing. This is the Devflix Podcast, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.